got ranchers, farmers, we've got business people, we have people that live in the mountains. It's such a melting pot of people, all different types of people.
When you get east, when you get out of the town, it's all agriculture.
Las Animas County is Colorado's largest, covering more than 4,700 square miles, stretching from the mountains to the eastern plains. And in the 2016 presidential election, it is one of the rural counties nationwide that no one was listening to, and that voted for Donald Trump.
When the results started coming in, I was shocked. Wow, this isn't what the pundits said it was going to be. They missed it.
But I was really concerned that it wouldn't happen and we'd have 4 more years of the same.
I think they see us that we have an opinion now, that we're just not some little hick town, we're survivors.
Las Animas County history is written in the rich coal seams that meander through these mountains. Generations of miners, the parents and grandparents of those who live here today, worked the mines and built the county seat of Trinidad. Some miners even shed their blood in the notorious clash of striking miners and a company backed by the Colorado National Guard in what became known as the Ludlow Massacre. About 24 people were killed, including miners' wives and children. That made Trinidad a strong union town with thriving Main Street businesses through the 1970s.
We had mom and pop businesses everywhere. We had all kinds of little corner grocery stores. And then after the mines closed, so did all the business.
The boom and bust economy based on mining was replaced in the late 1990s by the oil and gas boom. Big companies moved in, the county was thriving, drilling was at a fever pitch.
All those people coming in for that industry needed clothing, food, housing, and there was quite a good building boom that went on here.
But when the drilling played out and regulations became stricter, another bust set in.
So I know people who have left their jobs and lost them, and seen a lot of people leave, and they left some empty houses here that people got some great deals on.
According to the Colorado Department of Labor, the current unemployment rate is 6th highest among Colorado's 64 counties. About 1 in 8 full-time workers live below the poverty level, about 4 times higher than the state average. And the median household income is about $45,000 per year, well below the state median of almost $60,000. U.S. Census Bureau data shows the county has a large Latino population, about 41%, but it's not an immigrant population, rather one that is rooted in several generations in Colorado. Under 20% of the county's people have college degrees, about half the state average. Through it all, for the past 40 years, voters here have been reliably Democrat. But in 2016, traditional party loyalty faltered.
I used to have friends that were Democrats. No matter who was a Democrat, they voted the straight ticket. And I think today you got people crossing party lines.
I think all you heard Trump would say is we need change, we need change.
If something isn't working, you replace it. If a product doesn't deliver, you make a change.
And I think that's what people voted for, was the change.
Hi, I'm John Ferrugia. Welcome to Insight. The election of Donald Trump stunned not only Democrats, but Republicans and independents as well. And a key element of his victory was the vote of rural America. Even in Colorado, where Hillary Clinton won the state, rural counties overwhelmingly voted for Trump, whether or not they had traditionally voted Democrat. Las Animas County is one that mirrored the national election. It voted for President Obama in 2008 and 2012, and this year even voted for Democratic Senator Michael Bennet. Yet this county, that had not voted for a Republican president since 1972, voted for Donald Trump. But the question is, why? Our team, including correspondent Lori Jane Glia and reporter Maribel Gonzalez, spent some time in the county to find out. You're going to hear from 5 voters from various backgrounds and parties as we come to understand the biggest political upset of our lifetime.
Four hours from Denver, near the border of New Mexico.
Going there.
Mac Loudon lives off the land at his family ranch.
Oh, there's one.
He's 9 miles from the closest neighbor.
It's a long ways to town.
And for many rural county residents like him, 9 miles can sometimes be too close.
We value our privacy a lot in rural Colorado. I mean, that's one of the things that's really paramount to us.
As far apart as he is from his neighbors, Loudon says many of their politics aligned ahead of the presidential election.
What would you say was the most important issue for a rancher like yourself?
I think we felt like we're losing our private property rights. Is that somebody from Denver or Washington is dictating to us what you can and can't do.
The longtime cattle rancher worried who would take the reins of the U.S. government and how the next president's decisions would impact his livelihood.
I think it's kind of an affront to us that somebody in Washington is telling us, well, you need to raise your cow this way, you need to make sure you're not doing this, you're not doing that. You know what, we're not going to do anything that's going to hurt us economically.
Loudon, a Republican, says he believes fears over new federal regulations, not only for agriculture, pushed many county voters like him to cast a more anti-establishment ballot for Donald Trump. But even he was a little surprised to see the election results showed his traditionally Democratic county voted for a Republican in the presidential race.
So I think maybe this was an eye-opener to a lot of people that, wait a minute, there's people down there that maybe we should have been talking to or listening to that they didn't do things the traditional way. If Hillary was elected, it was going to be more of the same. Whereas what Donald was saying about, you know, we're going to make America great again, you know, I think that resonated with a lot of people.
Now that you know that this Democratic county could vote Republican, what would you want the rest of the state to know?
I think it shows the independence of the people living in rural Colorado that to say, you know what, I've always done it this way, but I don't think it's going to work anymore.
Loudon has a unique perspective when it comes to the needs of the county and its political will. He's not just a rancher. He's a veteran county commissioner, and on an interim basis,
Him to see the budget before Monday.
the acting county administrator dealing with a budget crisis in a tough financial year.
This is the hand we were dealt.
What is the situation with the economy, and why is that important? Why was it extra important during this election?
Well, I think it's that we were told that, you know, everything's going to get better, and things didn't change here. I mean, 8 years ago it was about the same. This year, agriculture took a 40% hit in their income.
Decades ago, the economy here thrived on the coal mining industry, an important part of the county's history. Hillary Clinton's push toward clean energy away from coal may have turned some people off, suspects Loudon, including Democrats with family members who once worked in the Las Animas mines.
I think there was some empathy there that, you know, we have to help those people back there, but economics is part of it, Supreme Court's part of it. I mean, it was just, I think it was a myriad of a lot of things that prompted Las Animas County to vote for President-elect Trump.
Why do you think nobody saw outside of Las Animas County that this might go the direction of Trump?
I think that there were people who were closet Trump people. I got a feeling that people were saying, you know, I don't know, I don't really like either one of them, I don't know what I'm going to do, but in the back of their mind they're saying, things have got to change. I can't go on like this.
Loudon says the most important issue right now is jobs. A once booming oil and gas industry fizzled, and very few new businesses are bringing revenue to the county. Like many fellow voters, Loudon is counting on the businessman in Donald Trump to bump up business.
We're kind of beat down, and we need something to, yeah, that's great. That's going to work. We can all make that work.
Whether it's here in the county building or back home on his ranch, Loudon believes Las Animas County will be revitalized, and he's willing to give Trump a chance.
So are you good with the color that's right up here? I think people are afraid of the economy, number one.
The economy seems always to be top of mind for Liz Torres and for the many who come to her commercial street salon in Trinidad to talk about the trials of the latest Las Animas County boom and bust. Liz is a city council person whose husband works for the power company.
It's gonna look just like your ends.
And she has diversified her business interests.
Jeez, it's like a maze in here.
In addition to the salon, she owns the candy store next door that she calls her feel-good business.
Even in bad times, you might not be able to afford it all the time, but we all are looking for something to make you feel better.
Her daughter runs the day-to-day operation here. And then there's her popular steak place on Main Street. where she spends some of her days with customers and supervising her staff. In the current downturn, she sees it as a hedge.
People always eat. So in the restaurant business, they're always going to go out and eat once in a while.
It is here, the candy store, and the salon, where she takes the daily pulse of her community, a community she knows intimately.
I've been in Los Animas County my whole life. My dad was born and raised here. He was a coal miner.
And for decades, it was the coal seams that run through these mountains that drove the economy. But as coal fell out of favor and environmental regulations tightened, things changed.
I've been hit through 3 different layoffs and closures of the mines. I've seen it many times.
And over again, that created fear and anxiety about the future.
What are we all going to do for work? And small businesses, you know, everybody panics and things start closing.
It was after the mines closed and the economy was shot that oil and gas began to flourish. Fracking. The folks in Los Animas County saw it as a godsend.
Every business here was thriving.
But like the mines, after more than a decade, fracking became politically controversial. Some wells played out, and companies could find it cheaper to operate someplace else.
Just so many people have moved away.
And that formed the historical and current economic backdrop for the 2016 election in this Democratic county. When you would talk to people in town about the election, was it really Democrat and Republican, or was it surviving?
I think it was more about survival. They felt like this was a time that we need change. We need to see our community in a more progressive direction. I think a lot of people's decisions were based on that, because we had one person that was wanting more of green energy and another one that was for the fracking and drilling and coal mines.
So even though you're a Democrat, you voted for Hillary. Do you understand why people decided to vote for Trump in your county?
I do. They want to protect their way of life. You know, I guess if my husband was in the gas and oil business, I would have probably been on board 100% with that as well, because that's your livelihood.
Listening to customers in her Main Street restaurant, Liz says it was clear there was another huge issue that hurt Hillary Clinton.
I think she was perceived as she was trying to take guns away and ammunition away.
And she got labeled with that.
She did get labeled with that.
And Liz says for many, the gun issue was tied directly to the fear of terrorism, even in small-town Trinidad.
When they were talking about bringing the Syrian people over and these things that are happening in the United States right now, these lone wolves that come in and kill lots of people, I think it puts fear into people's minds. Could this happen here? Could these people come here and we don't have the right to protect ourselves or our family?
And finally, she says, for so many of her customers, it's about health care.
People really feel that their health insurance has just gone through the roof since the Obamacare thing was set in place.
But issues aside, Liz Torres says the presidential election in Los Animas County, like the rest of rural America, also turned on one central theme: change. They voted Trump to change their luck.
I really hope that there is change and progress. But sometimes the rich get richer and the poor get poorer.
And that wouldn't be success.
That would not be success. Yeah. Just small changes causes a ripple effect, and before you know it, one good thing leads to another, and hopefully we'll all be in a better place.
So you want him to succeed?
I do want him to succeed. I never want anybody to fail.
My name is Jim Luca. I'm an oil and gas photographer. All of my clients are oil and gas.
Bleca took us on a tour of a well site east of Trinidad, similar to those he photographs for a living.
The oil and gas industry here had a big boom about 10 years ago, 15 years ago, and then prices dropped so dramatically. That's why we've seen so many cutbacks and we've lost so many jobs right here in Trinidad from the industry.
For a newcomer, Jim knows a lot about Trinidad. After living in Aurora and spending years photographing energy sites all across the country, he moved here with his wife 3.5 years ago.
And what attracted you to Trinidad?
We really liked the fact that we could have a quiet, peaceful place to live as opposed to the city. There's no pollution. We get a lot of fresh air. We can look up at the sky at night and see the stars on a clear night. You can see the Milky Way. It's wonderful.
But the beautiful scenery is not enough when the local economy is in shambles.
What would it mean for a town like Trinidad to have all the oil and gas industry, have it boom again?
It would look a lot nicer as far as there would be a lot more growth.
And he sees Donald Trump as the energy-friendly catalyst for that growth.
I mean, his personality is abrasive, but he's a business person. And I think he's more of a business person than Hillary Clinton, by a long shot. And I didn't also agree with a lot of Hillary's views on labor and the industry, especially oil and gas industry, because I think it would have been an uphill battle.
Now it's a battle that might become easier after Trump takes office.
For the oil and gas industry, what do you think that this new administration will do?
I think they'll make it a lot easier for the oil and gas industry to operate. They'll reduce some of the redundant regulations that the EPA has brought about that the state of Colorado has already instituted. We have the resources, we have world-class resources here that can make America really great. I mean, I hate to use that phrase again, but it really can, because we have an advantage of having those resources.
So in 4 years, looking into the future, how would you measure success? What does success mean to you?
I think in 4 years, a good measure of success will be progress toward reducing some of the regulations, just help economics trickle down into the states, into the cities and small towns and counties.
But even if Donald Trump fulfills all of Jim Luca's hopes for Trinidad, he knows not everyone in his adopted hometown will view success through the same lens.
There's always contention in Trinidad.
What do you mean?
Well, it's everywhere, but you're never going to see two people agree on the same thing all the time.
A few years ago, the buds within these walls were actually beers. This building was a Budweiser distribution warehouse off the main drag in Trinidad, Colorado, until it closed in the year 2000.
Is this something you had planned in your life?
No.
John Mitch Eliza owns the joint.
I didn't know what a marijuana plant was until we started to go into business about 3 years ago.
At 71 years old, he says he never tried a toke before launching this business. It is now helping breathe new life into the local economy, one that has had its ups and downs in Las Animas County.
Yeah, you've had people here that moved in here for jobs and that had good jobs, and then all of a sudden they either were laid off or they were transferred to another state like the gas companies. A lot of people went into business because the gas companies were here, and then when they left, a lot of them still aren't recovering because of the money that they put in. So I mean, it really hurt a lot of the businesses that have been here.
What kind of impact do you think your business has had on this community?
Well, we've employed maybe, I'm saying 18 or 20 people. We're almost up to the point to where we replaced the people we lost when we got out of the beer business.
Jobs weighed on the minds of many in Las Animas County during this presidential election. In a town made up of small business owners hoping for revitalization, Mitch Eliza wonders whether fellow entrepreneurs found Donald Trump's resume appealing.
He's a businessman. He's not a lawyer. You've had Obama in there for 8 years, and it seems like you haven't got anything done. I mean, it's gridlock here in the state even. So, being he's a businessman and instead of a politician, it might do good and it might not. I said it's just going to be a year or two down the line before everybody finds out.
Mitch Eliza says he feels confident with his Republican vote, but he did not expect Donald Trump to take the ticket in his own rural county.
It's always been Democratic. I used to have friends that were Democrats, and no matter who was a Democrat, they voted the straight ticket. And I think today you got people crossing party lines. It's more independent.
Having grown up here 70 years, the day you woke up and saw that it was Donald Trump, what went through your head?
I said, well, it kind of, surprised me. Well, I think it surprised everybody. I mean, there's so many questions out there why he won or,
Mitch Eliza, who is also an alfalfa farmer, says regulations on agriculture and water, gun rights, and health care may have impacted the way his fellow rural voters cast their ballot. But he thinks their access to mail-in voting also worked in Trump's favor.
When you get down here, most of these guys are 80-some years old along this hill. And for them to drive over here 2 miles or something to vote, they probably wouldn't vote because they had the mail-in ballot. Now, that's probably why you got a lot more Republican vote too. That's Baby. This one's Duncan. And here comes Bala and Hummer.
Mitch Eliza is now focused on finding a way back into retirement and hopes the next president will pave the way for what he calls one of the best counties in Colorado to find success.
I wish the economy would come back and the people would get jobs and move back here.
Well, it had nothing to do with political parties. And I think that's what they didn't count on. They weren't counting the little guy out there that is saying, hey, I'm going to vote for the best person possible. They didn't count on the little guy having a vote.
Samantha Quintana owns Double D's Grill on Trinidad's commercial street.
So it's pretty big. It's a pretty big area.
The town's hub for small businesses.
As a small business person, all you do is pay taxes. It's like payroll, taxes, sales taxes. It's just always tax. I get in here and I wash dishes, and then, the big thing is you have to temp everything. The way the restaurant business is run, you have like 5% profit margin. I mean, if anything goes wrong, you're like in the red. She'll get the homemade taste because she makes everything there.
Financial survival was front and center for many local business owners like her when they voted this past November.
For the small businesses, I think a lot of people were influenced to vote for, President-elect Trump because he said that he was going to help cut taxes. I don't think it really made a difference whether you're Republican or Democrat. I think that small businesses were looking at how are we going to save money because we saw that, the hourly rate was going up, the taxes keep going up, and it's just killing small business. This is our kitchen area.
Quintana grew up here and remembers a time when small businesses did not have to work so hard to stay afloat.
We had mom and pop businesses everywhere. We had all kinds of little corner grocery stores. We had hobby stores.
But after the mines closed, so did many of the businesses. Quintana saw this election as an opportunity to make Trinidad the kind of town it once was.
I think all you heard Trump say is we need change, and I think that's what people voted for was the change. We were trying to see who the best candidate would be to help our businesses succeed.
And she's counting on that, not only for her restaurant, but for her other business.
We are at Red Wing Electric.
Quintana is a master electrician.
We have a whole electrical section on there. There's architectural, mechanical, plumbing.
And her shop is one of the few places in Trinidad
this is our material
that after so many local electrical shops went out of business,
there's glass fuses up here,
still sells hard to find wiring hardware.
So we've become commercial electricians. When the gas field was going strong in the late 90s, we did a lot of gas field installations and stuff like that. We're like a chameleon in the electric business. We see what people need and we adapt to that.
Pragmatism, we heard it many times in Trinidad, and with Quintana, it was no different. She's Latina, and she's one of the few women working in the electrical industry. And she understands why many people's votes were unswayed by Trump's controversial remarks about Latinos and women.
Donald Trump couldn't keep his mouth closed. He would just say like the most off-the-wall crazy things and his ideas about immigration and some of that other stuff. As a woman, I wanted our first woman president, but as a business owner, I was happy.
What are your hopes for this new president?
My hopes personally is that he lives up to at least 80% of what he said. But I mean, if he could help with job creation, tax cuts, reform some of the health care that's out there now, I think that'll help businesses grow stronger.
On taxes, we are going to massively cut tax rates for workers and small businesses.
For Quintana and many Los Animas County voters, this election provides satisfaction in finally being heard.
Do you feel like you're no longer the little guy?
I think we're still little guys, but now we have a big mouth, so I think we're right up there with Donald Trump.
While his promises are loud and clear for the people of Los Animas County, and indeed for American workers who manufacture, mine, and drill, the question is, can the new president deliver? Can he work with Congress, even in his own party, to accomplish the goals that his supporters are banking on? Will he listen to those in his appointed cabinet who have the expertise in economics, foreign and military affairs, and running the government that he lacks? Clearly, this is no sure bet. But for voters in Los Animas County and for millions of Democrats, Republicans, and independents who voted for Donald Trump, it is a gamble worth taking. A gamble on what they believe will be a needed and drastic change in the White House and in the country. That's our insight for tonight. Thanks for joining us. I'm John Ferrugia. Good night.